Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Menopause HQ Hot, Tired, and Hormonal, where we talk honestly about hormones, hot flashes, and the stuff nobody prepared us for. I'm Angela Black. I'm the founder of Menopause Headquarters or Menopause HQ. We're a company that provides resources for women over 40 who are trying to understand what's happening inside our bodies during perimenopause, when we reach menopause, and when we're postmenopausal. Our goal at Menopause HQ is very simple. We really want to make sure that women ask better questions when you go see your healthcare provider and that you advocate for yourself and stop feeling like you're losing your minds during this midlife time. As always, quick disclaimer, everything we share here is educational. Always talk with your own healthcare provider about your personal health, okay? Now, if you listen to episode 3, then you will see that we explained everything about menopause, what menopause is, and we talked about postmenopausal health care and how to make sure that you stay on top of your health after you've reached menopause. We didn't just talk about symptoms. We didn't talk about perimenopause in episode 3. We talked about that in episode 2. But we talked about menopause and postmenopause in episode 3, and this is episode 4. The title of this episode is Estrogen, the hormone running the whole damn show. And the reason we chose estrogen is because, yes, estrogen is one of many hormones that women have flowing throughout our bodies normally, but it is one of the major hormones that kind of goes haywire during perimenopause, sends us into menopause, and then when we're postmenopausal, we have questions about how do we maintain our estrogen levels to a point that we're not having these bothersome symptoms, right? So today we're diving deeper into estrogen, and that is something that we all have questions about. I know a lot of women are kind of afraid of hormone replacement. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about just how much estrogen impacts our bodies before we go into menopause, once we reach menopause, and what happens when your body has completely stopped making it. I honestly didn't know, even, with my background somewhat in healthcare, I had no idea how much estrogen affected my entire being, from my ears to, of course, my mood, my sleep, my heart health. My blood pressure levels went up because my estrogen levels went down. My cholesterol levels went up. My blood insulin, I mean, my blood sugar levels went up. It affected my memory. I had bad brain fog. It can affect your skin. It can affect your libido, basically everything throughout your body. Our nurse practitioner, Latalia Lewis, has told us in the past that estrogen has over 400 jobs that it does all over the body. So when your body stops making it, then things start going haywire. So today, again, we're going to talk all about estrogen. And so, Latalia, let's start with the basics. And can you tell everybody what estrogen is?
Okay, of course, it's sex hormone. We classify it as a reproductive hormone, but that is so misleading. Like Angela said, it does control over 400 functions in the body. So I will definitely break that down for you guys. You have receptors all over the body that needs estrogen. For example, the brain. So when you lose estrogen in the brain, estrogen helps with communication between the brain cells. So when you're trying to process a thought and you can't get it out, that's because your estrogen may be low. It also helps relax and widen blood vessels. So oftentimes women during the menopausal years, they will develop migraines because your vessels vasoconstrict, so they stiffen. And then estrogen being low, you don't have that ability to relax the blood vessels. So
Mhm.
that's what happens in the brain. And also the heart. The heart, what happens with the heart, like I said, it relaxed and widened blood vessels. So your blood pressure can go up. And I know Angela shared her story where she had high blood pressure during her menopausal years because the vessels get stiffened. And estrogen helps produce something called nitric oxide that helps widen your vessels so your blood can flow easily through those vessels. So when estrogen drops, you can have a chance of increasing blood pressure. Also, it can cause your heart to become erratic, and that's what happened to me. And so it's like estrogen helps calm or control the electrical system in the heart. And I had heart palpitations, so my body was sending me signals saying your estrogen is low, your hormones are low, you need to get that checked. So that's what happens. The heart can become more erratic. So estrogen is key for the heart. Bones, okay? So you know that little synovial fluid and the cartilage between your joints? You
Mhm.
know, estrogen helps maintain that. So that helps with cushion. So when you have those joint pain or you have that cracking and creaking of the bone like we talked about last time, that's because you lost some of your cartilage or some of your cushion. And like you kind of trying to go down low is is not as easy as it used to be in the past. So estrogen helps provide that cushion in your bones. And then when you lose that cushion and you go to the doctor and they do an x-ray on your knees, then you can develop arthritis. And then you're on medication for arthritis. Then also it helps maintain and build bone. So when you lose and break down bone, you can have osteoporosis. So when estrogen exits stage left, it can also affect your bones. Your skin. You remember in your 20s when your skin was plump and you didn't have the crow's feet or the wrinkles? That's
Yes.
because of estrogen. Estrogen helps maintain collagen. So I know a lot of people like, when you frown, you don't have wrinkles, and some people get Botox and all that kind of stuff. But having estrogen can help with firmness and hydration of the skin. So, isn't that a great thing? The urinary tract, the people, "I gotta go, gotta go, gotta go right now."
Yeah.
And some people are on, oxybutynin to help with overactive bladder, but what happens with, estrogen, it strengthens the lining of your bladder, so you can actually hold your urine a little bit better. So estrogen does that as well. And we all know about the vaginal tissue. So a lot of people know that really, really good. Think about, the sex being painful. And if
Mhm.
you don't have estrogen, everything dries out, even fluid in your lungs. So when you're having sex, you don't want it to you don't want it to feel like you're going through a cheese grater. So you need
Mhm.
estrogen for that firmness and that hydration. And did you know cholesterol? Estrogen has a role in cholesterol. So LDL, they call it the bad cholesterol, but not necessarily so. Everything plays a role. It helps package up that LDL and ship it on out. So you need estrogen. So when your cholesterol goes up later in life during your perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause years, it could be due to low estrogen. And it also helps you respond better to insulin. So you have insulin sensitivity. So when your A1C was like 5.0 and now you go to the doctor, it's 5.6, 5.8, 6.0, and they say you're pre-diabetic, it
Mhm.
could be due to low estrogen. But
Mhm.
before I forget, now you can't just flood your body with hormones and think everything is okay. Hormones have to attach to the receptors of a cell to communicate to the organs and glands. So you can't just have hormones floating around just in the body and it's not attaching to the cell. It's kind of like, you send text messages to your friend and
Mhm.
then you notice that your friend didn't never responded to the text message and
Mhm.
you realize, oh, I never pressed send.
Uh-huh.
So that's what happens when you just have estrogen and other hormones in the bloodstream, but it's not attaching to the receptor on the cell. And I know a lot of you are interested, like, well, how do you get it to attach? You got to make sure that you have a great diet. You're trying to do some strength training. You're pooping. Some people go 3 and 4 days, 6 days without going to the bathroom. You want
Mm.
to do that. Make sure you're managing your stress level. Make sure you're sleeping at night. Things like that. You have healthy nutrition. You're getting your vitamins, your minerals. So it's a lot of things to help, overall health so your hormones can attach to the cell.
Wow. I know, some of the things you were talking about, I remember my mom saying, "Honey, you just wait. You just keep living," you know?
Mhm,
She said,
mhm,
"Getting old, honey, is something." That's what she would say, right?
right.
And I actually thought I had some more years before things like that started happening to me, but I see now, I guess I'm getting old because some of these things are happening. So, I recently had a cold. I'm still kinda congested, right?
Mhm,
And y'all, I'm telling you, one of the things that I did not expect, because I did a lot of coughing, a lot of coughing. So, like, for a week, I was out of work, and at the beginning of the week, I was coughing, 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 and by the end of the week, I'm still coughing, coughing, coughing. By the end of the week, I had done so much coughing that that urinary tract caused me some issues, and I was
mhm,
like, "This has never happened to me before," you know? I
mhm,
used to be pretty good about being able to hold it and go to the bathroom, you know, when I get to the bathroom. Now, if it's an urgency, I need to go. I need to go right now, right?
mhm,
And it used to not be that way, you know? And so now, you know, listening to you talk about, the fact that lower estrogen levels can even affect that, it's like, gee whiz, I had no idea all of this stuff was gonna happen.
right,
And remember I was talking about the ears being stopped up. I had ears stopped up for about 2 or 3 weeks and went to see an ENT, and he didn't even think about the fact that it could have been perimenopause, but I think it really was. You know, he said it was, stress, and that once I was no longer stressed, it would go away, not even thinking that it was might have been the estrogen receptors in my inner ear that was causing some issues, right? So, it is amazing to me how why is it all we hear about is hot flashes or night sweats or mood swings? We don't necessarily hear about how your blood pressure could increase or your cholesterol could increase. Even though you're not eating any differently, you're not exercising any differently, your body is just changing and the hormones are affecting all of that. It's very frustrating that a lot of these symptoms we don't know about because we didn't know that estrogen has so much of a role all over the body, you know? Um, Even with my joints, I remember when my joints were hurting, girl, I was like, "Is this what 50 feels like? Is this what aging feels like? I feel like I'm 95, I can't really move." And you were talking about dropping it low, girl, ain't no more of that. Like, my knees, they cannot handle me dropping it. Now, if I have on some like 3-inch heels or 4-inch heels, I might be able to drop it a little bit, but for the
mhm,
most part, these knees are not gonna hold me up anymore. And then, you know, that you're talking about the cartilage inside the joints and stuff. It's
mhm,
just not there like it used to be. And another thing I'm noticing, if I get a cut or a scratch, it used to heal so pretty, you couldn't even see where I had a cut or scratch before, and it might heal after a couple of days. Now depending upon the severity of the injury, it can take months, you know?
right,
I remember I fell, and when I fell, I tried to brace myself with my hand, and my thumb got jammed a little bit, it was kinda
mhm,
sprained. Do you
mhm,
know it took 8 months for that thumb, that sprain to completely heal? 8
yeah,
months, and
mhm.
so it's my body is taking longer to heal, all of these things are happening, and I guess estrogen has a part in all of that. I mean, is that correct? Even with your wounds healing?
Yes, because it helps regulate the immune system as well. You
Yeah,
know, so, like, even when you take HRT, because some people feel like Imma be magical after I take estrogen, not necessarily so, because
yeah,
you always have to get to your sweet spot, you know? I realize I do take estrogen, but I feel better when my estrogen levels may be 100, but we'll talk about that later. So
mhm,
I don't want to give the impression that it's a magic pill. You always have to get to your sweet spot. You always have to do strength training. You always have to focus on your nutrition. So it's a lot of things that you still have to do in between. And you asked about why don't they talk about, this when you go to the doctor?
right,
Because it's not easy to connect the dots. In school, when I was in nurse practitioner school, we didn't learn any of this. The study on women's health was it wasn't significant. It wasn't as significant as men's health. You know, they have every drug on the market for, erections, erectile dysfunction,
Mhm,
even penile implants, but
mhm.
they didn't study women as well. So, they didn't connect the dots to all those symptoms happening, to menopause. They just treat it in isolation. So, if you had bad bones and they did a bone scan, they diagnosed you with osteoporosis, you got
Yeah,
something for that. If you
yeah,
had high cholesterol, you got something for that. High blood pressure, you got something for that. In fact, it was your low estrogen that was causing, or low hormones, period, that was causing a lot of the problems.
right.
Now, the situation is focused on hot flashes and night sweats because that's what we feel. And actually, hot
Mhm.
flashes originate in the brain by a big boss called hypothalamus. That's your temperature regulator. So, estrogen basically tells the hypothalamus it's too high or too cold, so it knows how to maintain and regulate your body temperature. But when I said like the estrogen exit stage left, what happens, your body becomes overly sensitive. So the hypothalamus like, "Oh, wait, is she too hot? Is she too cold?" So your heart rate starts to go up, then you start to sweat, and then that little flash of heat that we cause hot flashes trying to cool your body down when you were fine. You were just sitting there watching a Lifetime movie.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
have estrogen to let them know that, oh, this the baby girl, she's fine. But it's just a situation that is all out of whack because the estrogen left and the hypothalamus is trying to regulate your body temperature without the assistance of estrogen. And that's what people focus on, the night sweats. Night sweats can also be a progesterone deficiency, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, they feel that you're wetting clothes, you're wetting sheets. So that becomes the hallmark for hormones. And people feel like, well, I didn't go through menopause because I didn't have that. Yeah, you still
Mhm,
living and you don't have a cycle for 12 months. You are in postmenopausal. You went through menopause.
mhm,
Everybody does. And that's born with a vagina. Unless you die early, you will go through menopause. So I
mhm.
want to make that perfectly clear. The hot flashes and the night sweats are symptoms you feel, but the quiet storm that's happening inside your body, you need to be aware of.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense when you said that, it clicked. That's why we talk about it so much is
Mhm,
because, like you said, those are the things we feel. Now, I personally I probably had less than 10 hot flashes,
mhm,
the whole time I was going through perimenopause, but I had a whole lot of night sweats where it would wake me up, the sweat dripping down my skin. It
mhm,
felt like something was crawling on me and it was sweat. I was sweating
mhm,
that much. But what I find interesting now is, my mom, when she comes to visit, she's in her 70s, almost 80, and so, as people get older, they tend to be cold. They're
mhm,
always cold. So my mom's always cold, and she can never figure out my body temperature. She thinks she has me figured out, but then when she thinks she has me figured out, she doesn't have it figured out because she knows at night I like to have my thermostat at 66.
mhm,
So, for some people, that's really cold. But if it's not at 66, I will sweat,
mhm,
even though I'm on hormone replacement, right? So I have to have it on 66 and the ceiling fan going at the same time. My mom, when she comes to visit with the temperature being 66, she's got a little head. She put her little hat on her head, little
mhm,
and she'll be sleeping in a robe under the covers, 'cause she's cold. So during the day, she thinks I want the temperature to be 66. During the day, I don't. I'm
mhm,
I'm cold. And if I go into a restaurant and they have the air conditioning blasting, I always have a jacket because 'cause I'm always cold. But then
mhm,
at night, I want it cold so that my body temperature will regulate. It's like when I go to sleep, I guess my body temperature increases because I may go to sleep sometimes actually cold, but I
mhm,
know if I don't keep it on 66, I will wake up sweating, so it's really weird. The temperature regulation is still not there,
mhm,
like my body is not where it used to be, and I don't know that I'll ever get back to where it used to be where I can just regulate all day long. It's
mhm,
not that way. Sometimes I'm really cold and sometimes I'm hot. And then even though I don't necessarily consider these hot flashes, there are times that I'll just get hot and I keep a fan in my purse and I'll be bringing it out,
mhm, mhm,
fanning myself, but I'm not sweating necessarily. I'm just feeling a little hot. Excuse me. I have a friend who had hot flashes that were something I had never seen before, where we'd just be sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, sweat would just start pooling down her face. I mean, like, almost like she had a faucet on top of her
Mhm,
head that was
mhm.
dripping water, right? I had never seen anything like that before, and she described it as her skin on the inside felt like she was on fire, almost, like it was just
Wow.
hot, you know?
Mhm.
I never had that.
And,
So
other things can affect the temperature regulator, like thyroid problems and things like
mm,
that. Low iron, stuff like it's so many different things that can also cause that or worsen those symptoms for females. So,
oh.
so definitely that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's interesting how we all have different
Mhm.
symptoms. And like you were saying, if someone doesn't feel the hot flashes or the night sweats or the aching joints, they may think they didn't necessarily have menopausal symptoms, not realizing, like you said, that quiet storm going on inside your body, which
Mhm.
if you don't go to the doctor regularly, then that can be a problem. You've got these things going on, especially
Mhm.
blood pressure. They call it the silent killer for a reason. So if you don't go to the doctor regularly and get those things checked, that could cause some big problems for you and your blood sugar levels as well. So, when it comes to anxiety, why would estrogen levels affect anxiety?
Okay, because of serotonin and GABA. Those are neurotransmitters. So
Okay.
estrogen support those. You have serotonin, like 90% is in your gut. And serotonin helps with mood. It helps with sleep, digestion. GABA is a calming neurotransmitter. So when
Mhm,
you don't have that estrogen support to help those neurotransmitter, your life can become chaotic. You can get irritable easy, angry easily.
mhm,
You can be anxious about driving in Atlanta. You could just be anxious even trying to go to sleep at night. I know at one time when I think I've got so used to my body, I've been on HRT for a while. I even know when I first start my HRT, I have a lot of anxiety because it hadn't kicked in yet. So my body hasn't fully absorbed it. So for the first couple of weeks, I might be a little bit more anxious. Or when mine is coming to an end right now, I have to get my pellets replaced. I can tell the night sweats and the hot flashes are coming on. So I can kind of tell what part of my life, cycle I am with the HRT and see
mhm.
what's going on. But that's what happens because it helps with the neurotransmitters. And we don't have that support from the estrogen, things can be a little cray cray.
Yeah. Which, yeah, not a little bit, man. I mean, I really do think you're losing your mind, but,
Yeah.
okay, so you were talking about HRT, and some women may not know what that is, a hormone replacement therapy, HRT for short. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So, for me, um, it literally saved my life. I don't think I would have had a good quality of life had it not been for hormone replacement therapy. And I tried the yam cream for the progesterone to see if, you could get the progesterone through your skin. That didn't work for me. Some people it does, but it didn't work for me. I tried the estrogen patches. That didn't work for me. Some people it does, but it worked for my mom. She said when she first got her first estrogen patch, by that night, she felt like a completely different woman from the first day she put it on. It didn't do anything for me. And eventually, I started getting the bioidentical hormone replacement pellets. And what I like about those is they are specifically, I guess you could say, designed for Angela, for each individual person and the amount of estrogen, testosterone. I guess some people may have progesterone. You can talk to that in their pellets. I personally only have estrogen and testosterone in my pellets, and I take an oral progesterone, which helps me sleep really well. But had it not been for that estrogen and testosterone pellet, I think my quality of life would have been rough for me because it was a lot going on mentally and physically for me. And thankfully, we have hormone replacement therapy, but I really want us to talk about this because so many women are afraid of it. I want you to talk about why some women are afraid of it, why they should not necessarily be afraid of it, and then give them the options that they have for the different types of hormone replacement therapy and just give us some information about what all of that means.
Okay, I think in the 90s or 2000, I can't remember, 2002, 1993, whatever, the Women's Health Initiative came out. So they did studies on women that were on hormone replacement, but it was synthetic hormones. It was like your progestins, the synthetic estrogen, the Premarin, which was the horse urine. And so people were having blood clots, some people strokes, heart attacks, or whatever. So that study, and some developed cancer but that study caused a big scare in the medical community, and they felt like all hormones were bad. But
Okay,
just
let's
like you
let's
okay,
slow down just a second. So
okay.
you said those were synthetic hormones, right?
Synthetic, yes,
So they were made in a lab? Is
in the
that what
lab.
you okay.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
then you said the was it the what did you say Premarin?
Premarin was horse
Prema
urine, horse pee.
hor horse urine. So this
Yes.
was a female horse,
Mhm.
and they used that horse's urine to extract the female's estrogen from it. Is that what happened?
Yes, it was actually Premarin means pregnant mare's urine. So it's a pregnant
Oh.
horse. Pregnant mare's urine
Oh.
is Premarin.
Wow.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Pregnant mare's
Mare's urine.
urine,
Yes.
Premarin. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
so they took the estrogen from the pregnant mare or horse,
Uh-huh.
and how could that work in a human's body?
It was like a square peg in a round hole. It didn't. I mean, my mom did okay with it. She never had any side effects. I took her off as soon as I could though. But some people are just sensitive, and synthetic is not identical to what your body makes. You want something identical to what your body makes. Not close, not somewhat, not halfway fit. You want something identical. And that's what the synthetic was. It wasn't identical to what your body makes. Now, you have the bioidentical hormones. And just like you said, wild yams, it's made by plants and things like that, but the structure is identical to what your body makes. Now,
Okay,
I'm not saying that you can't have side effects off of anything that they put on you, in you, or whatever the case may be, but the side effects are much less. Much less. And so it also depends on the dosages too and how you respond to it. And a lot of people heard or they thought that estrogen caused cancer.
mhm,
I have to clear that up for you guys.
please
Um,
do.
if you really think about it, when we're young, you have estrogen levels, some of us up to 300. If that was the case, we would have knocked off a whole teenage population. Estrogen does not cause cancer. What happens, cancer cells are present and estrogen can make things grow. But as you all know, there are several different types of breast cancer. You have the what is it? ER positive, PR positive, HER2 positive. That means it's classified but by what drives the growth. So if it's ER positive, it's driven, the growth of the cancer is driven by estrogen. If it's
Okay,
PR positive, the cancer cells is driven by progesterone. If it's
mhm,
HER2 positive, it's driven by a protein called human epidermal, I think. Epidermal, it's a protein that's you have too many proteins on that cell, and that's cause it to drive the cancer cells. And then you have triple negative. That
mhm,
means it doesn't respond to estrogen, progesterone, or the protein. So they got to figure out what's causing it. So
mhm,
that's where you get the names from for breast cancer. It's what's driving the cell. So when you already have cancer cells present, and some of us don't know, but you know your lifestyle. How well are you eating? How well are you sleeping? What nutrients are you getting in? Are you exercising? Because when you think about it, I had a client the other day that I was talking to. When we go to the doctor, Angela, a lot of times they'll put us on different medications, like lisinopril or
mhm.
amlodipine or several different things, metformin. Your body does not make any of those.
Right.
So we
They're
have
all
no
synthetic.
problem taking those.
Right.
Your body makes estrogen. Okay. So when you don't have to take HRT, your body's still going to make estrogen. Like your fat tissue makes estrogen. Your adrenal glands make estrogen. Now, there's three types of estrogens. There's estradiol. That's the one that has all the functions. That's the one we call reproductive. That's the one that you want more prevalent. You have estrone, which is your menopausal estrogen, and you have estriol, which is your pregnancy estrogen. It's a weaker one. Estradiol is a stronger estrogen, and that's the one you want. So
Was
the
that the
more
one that your ovaries
Mhm.
produces?
Yes,
And when you say which estrone is
estradiol.
the menopausal one?
It's a menopausal estrogen, and that your fat tissue can produce estrone.
So when your ovaries stop making estradiol, your fat tissue makes estrone?
But what happens, it converts back and forth. Like it can convert to estradiol, then convert back to estrone. That's not a bad thing. But it means you also have to know what pathway your hormone is going down. Okay.
Okay.
So you heard about the pathways, Angela, because you had a Dutch test one time before.
Yes.
So you have a 2OH pathway, a 4OH pathway, and a 16OH pathway that matters. So whether it's estradiol, estrone, whatever the case may be, you have to be able to clear your estrogen. The 2H pathway is the pathway you want the estrogen to go down. That's like going down the open road. That's fine. It's great. Everything is good. You're detoxing it. You clearing up the old estrogen. You clearing up toxins, and you're shipping it out. That's 2H. 4H is the more dangerous one. That's what can cause DNA damage. Okay. So that's the road that has detour danger. Do not proceed ahead. Okay.
Okay.
And then 16OH is one that causes proliferation. It makes things grow. So,
Oh,
like estrone 16OH could be more prevalent and increases your chances of your breast cancer spreading because it makes things grow. It's
okay.
not the cause of it, but it can make things grow. It's like a fertilizer on the weed. The fertilizer didn't bring the weed, but it can make it grow. So I
Okay.
hope that clears things up because just like Dr. Livingood said one time, I heard he said, genetics load the gun, but behavior pulls the trigger.
Okay.
Okay.
So then how do we make sure that the estrogen goes down the right pathway?
Cruciferous vegetables,
And what are those?
kale, broccoli, let's see, Brussels sprouts, cabbages. So, and it's also something called DIM with sulforaphane in it that
Uh-huh.
can help push your estrogen down the 2H pathway. So, but one thing I got to warn you, one thing about DIM, if your estrogen is already low, it can down regulate your estrogen and make you feel worse. That's why it's very important to get labs drawn. And a lot of people put women on DIM, it's like, okay, we can get just to push it down the pathway. But I tried that with me. And my estrogen was low and it dropped lower and I had more hot flashes. I already go down a 2OH pathway.
Oh,
So I am going to eat more cruciferous vegetables. I might take them every now and then, but my estrogen level has to be high enough, for me to take it so it won't just drop my estrogen level because it helps clear, helps with methylation, means cleaning things up and wrapping them up and packaging them and shipping them out. So if your estrogen is already 29, I don't want you to wrap it up and ship it out. I need a little bit more estrogen, so that's the thing you have to be careful about. But eating those things, if you can eat cabbages, collard greens, Brussels sprouts, kale, if you can eat those things, it will help with your estrogen detox.
every day.
I probably do 3 times a week. Just make sure you eat clean. Try to eat stuff with one ingredient. How many ingredients in collard greens? How many ingredients in almonds? You
Mm,
know, the
mhm,
problem comes and people start having problems with their health is when you're buying this packaged food, and if you read these labels and they got like 16 ingredients,
mhm,
what is that?
mhm, mhm.
So those are the things you have to be mindful of. And I always mess with my clients. Imma tell you this little story. Like, she was on, a long list of drugs, and she was just a lot concerned about getting hormone replacement therapy. So I called out her drugs name, it was a long list and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, metformin, lisinopril, amlodipine, and I said, those are man-made, right? Did you have any problems taking those?" And she was like, "No, it was prescribed by my doctor." So I took them. Great. Estrogen is God-made by the body, right? But you're afraid of what God made? Help me understand. I say, but, I always mess with them and they be like, "Oh, that makes sense." But you have to go to the right provider to, you know evaluate your labs, make sure that you're pretty healthy, look at your thyroid, all kinds of stuff just to make sure that you are a candidate and that you will get through this stage, you know, fine.
Mhm,
Mhm,
mhm. Interesting. Wow. That's a lot of information that none of us knew. And you admittedly may not have known a lot of this when you went through
mhm,
school the first time. I guess you had to go back to school to really get the deeper
mhm,
knowledge of all of this information. But let's talk about the different forms of hormone replacement therapy. So, um, remember I was saying how I tried the estrogen patches, that didn't work. I tried the progesterone cream, that didn't work for me. So what are some other ways that we can get hormone replacement?
Okay. So like you said, you have the creams, I did a bias because you have the estriol and estradiol because some people have symptoms from estradiol because it's stronger. So you have the breast tenderness. And I'll sometimes
Mm,
pair it with a weaker estrogen like estriol. And there was some studies out that estriol help with MS, so people who have autoimmune issues and stuff like that. So I will pair those two, so you'll have the effects of the estrogen, but not the symptoms from it. So
mhm,
creams are one, and I'm just like Angela. I could not absorb the cream. My OBGYN said you might as well use this as a lotion because this is not working. The patches, it wasn't raising my estrogen high enough that I wanted. So you
right.
have the pellets. The pellets are inserted under the skin in your buttocks, in the hip area, your buttocks. So it dissolves over a 12-week period. And the more your cardiac output, like if you exercise a lot, you'll release it more rapidly. It's released by cardiac output.
Mhm,
So some people need a booster, but I still feel like even if you exercise, you probably will get the effects of it for at least 10 weeks.
mhm,
So,
mm,
pellets are awesome. I work with Dr. Baker at Renew Infusion and Wellness. She's doing pellet therapy. We do have the creams and the patches. It's in LaGrange, Georgia. So if you guys are interested in pellet therapy, we do the consultations and I'm also a functional medicine nurse practitioner. So those things that we do. Let's see. The injections for the testosterone is synthetic, so I don't usually offer that. A lot of women ask for those things, but you have more side effects. And
mhm,
just like Angela spoke on, we do the estrogen and the testosterone pellets. I don't think they have the progesterone as of yet, so we give that oral.
okay,
And some people do the cream, but if you do have a uterus, I suggest that you do the oral because it's more uterine protection with the oral progesterone than with the creams because you
okay.
can absorb and it helps with sleep. It helps with insomnia, so it regulates your sleep very well. Even my husband make jokes because I take 250 milligrams of progesterone, so I'm on the higher end. And he was like, "I wish I could take." He said, "You knocked out. Can I get some of that progesterone?" But yes, it does help you sleep. And with hormones, you have other pathways like alpha and beta. So we look at those things because for progesterone, I go down the beta pathway, which means that it doesn't stimulate my GABA. So it doesn't help me be calm. So I have to have a higher dose to get the same effect that Angela might take at 100 milligrams.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
also too with people think, "Okay, Imma look like, what's his name from Star Wars that got all the hair?"
Waka.
People worry about they gonna look like Chewbacca if they take the testosterone. But
Uh-huh.
we also look at that. We always start low for people, and then we can put you on, like saw palmetto or, pumpkin seed oil or dim to help to prevent the conversion to DHT, so you won't have a huge beard and, and
Yeah.
chest hairs and all this kinda stuff. So that's a lot of people's fear. Will my hair fall out? Testosterone actually
Mhm.
helps your hair grow. So
Oh,
it could be the conversion of the DHT or stronger androgen that can cause those issues and acne. So, we work with you, and just like Angela said, it's individualized. It's not a one size fit all. We
yeah.
look at other labs like insulin resistance. We look at thyroid. So we treat you as an individual person, and we move according to what you feel like you're comfortable with. Some people are not ready for pellets. I wasn't. In the beginning, I wasn't. I'm a control freak. I'm like, I got to be able to dial it back, dial it down. But she was like, you can't touch it. It's just going to dissolve. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And then, and then when I tried it, I did fall in love with it. So, we treat you as an individual person. So You don't have to worry about us pushing anything, and if you're afraid, we'll talk you through whatever we need to.
So, when it comes to side effects, for instance,
Mhm,
um, since I've been on the pellets 2 years now, I have to keep a razor in the car with
mhm,
me
mhm,
in my little, the little not glove compartment, the little arm
mhm,
with your arm see, menopause brain, I can't even think of what you call the little middle
uh-huh,
part. Anyway, so I keep a razor in there because I'll be at a red light and I'll just be sitting there, or stuck in traffic on 285 in Atlanta, and I'm sitting there, and then I'm like,
mhm,
"Shoot!" And the testosterone, and I don't grow hair fast. My natural hair does not grow fast. Never did. But for whatever reason, this hair right here will
mhm,
grow day,
mhm.
every day. And I feel the stubble and I can't stand it. And you may not even be able to see it, but I
I
can feel
can.
it. And
Mhm.
I can't stand it. It's almost like I'm for lack of a better term, almost OCD with it. When I feel the stubble, I gotta get it off. So if I'm driving down 285 and nobody's looking, I'll grab that razor and do this right quick because excuse me, I can't stand it.
Mhm,
Um, but hey, I'd rather have that one little side effect from my pellets and still have a good quality of life. I'll deal with it. I'll just have to do that
mhm,
every day. And then the other thing, there's this TV show that I was watching. It's a fictitious TV show, and it's about a doctor. And he had this woman come in and she needed vaginal estrogen cream. She
mhm,
was postmenopausal. So he prescribed it for her. Well, then a man comes in like the next day and he's like, "Doc, all of a sudden I'm growing boobs." And
uh-huh,
just out of the blue, I'm growing boobs. And it turns out that was her husband.
mhm, mhm,
And when the doctor put 2 and 2 together, he realized the woman was using too much of the estrogen vaginal cream. And then when she and her husband were intimate, it was transferring to him and
mhm.
he was getting gynecomastia from it, right?
Yeah,
Now that was TV. So I
mhm.
want to ask you, is that something that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can transfer, just like when you take the men did the androgel, they always say, make sure you're completely dry so you can transfer it. But I wouldn't apply it if I'm about to be intimate. You have to wait to get after intercourse. But to be clear, vaginal estrogen is only localized. All the systemic effects that I was talking about, improved cholesterol, improved blood pressure. You are not gonna get that with vaginal estrogen. That's just for JJ, okay, y'all? So don't
Okay.
be like, I'm on hormone therapy, everything fine. I just cause got some stuff in my JJ. Nope. No, you need so I don't do oral estrogen because it doesn't bypass the liver and then it can increase the chances of blood clots. So I try to stick with the patches, creams, and the pellets and
Mhm.
things like that. So, and then some people do the localized vaginal estrogen and the systemic patches, creams, or pellet. And you can do that, but even with the pellets, you wouldn't need the vaginal cream long term because your pellet dose, should be help with the
That, yeah.
moisture and the fluid balance and stuff too. But I
Yeah.
also want to talk about things that can happen to the cell. Have you heard of xenoestrogen, Angela?
No.
Okay.
Is that XENO?
Yeah, XENO, xenoestrogen. You know how I said a square peg and a round hole.
Mhm.
Xenoestrogen is found in parabens, phthalates,
Mm.
herbicides, pesticides. So some of our lotion, we want to smell good. As some of these different fancy lotions, they may have parabens in it or they may have phthalates in it. Those contain xenoestrogen plastic. So if you're drinking out of plastic water bottles, if you're microwaving your food in plastic, switch to glass. Because
Mhm.
those things, what it will do, it does not fit inside the receptor in the cell. The little stubborn little things will sit on the cell to block the receptor. So
Mm.
if you get hormones, your hormone cannot attach to that receptor because them
Mm.
little stubborn little things sitting there blocking it like, you ain't getting in. So you can get hormone therapy, but if you're drinking out a lot of plastic water bottles, using a lot of plastics, I will even hold the BPA for the receipts at the store. Try not to put those in your bag. Try not to keep those in your hand all the time, throw those away or put it somewhere that you wanna keep, so that stuff won't absorb in your skin,
So receipts, the ink from the
Receipts.
receipts?
Yep, that BPA, yes.
Oops, I keep
So
all of my receipts.
well, just put if you take just put them in a bag or tell them to put it in a bag and just put it in a space in your house, just don't keep them with you because they can absorb in the skin the BPA and they can create the xenoestrogens that block. So, like you said, if you have the chin hair or the breast tenderness and stuff, you might one of your receptors could be blocked or something, you
Mm,
know. And then you can also try, pumpkin seed oils to help from converting that testosterone to the
mhm.
stronger androgen called DHT. So yeah, it's so many different things, and we educate you guys if you're interested in HRT. We educate you on some different things, even fragrance free, paraben free, phthalate free. I try to look for those things, different natural soaps. I don't need to be lathered up with all this smell good stuff because I need my hormones to work out. So I like different scents, but I like oils, essential oils, or,
Mm.
when I purchase from people that home make different things that have a great scent, but it doesn't have all that extra stuff in it,
All the
you know.
chemicals, mhm.
Mhm, all the chemicals, absolutely.
So now let's talk about the women who, because there are women who they're naturalists, and maybe they don't understand that bioidentical hormone replacement is natural, if it's
Mhm,
plant-based.
mhm,
Maybe they don't understand that, because I've seen a lot of people, again, I'm part of these menopause groups all over Facebook, several of them, and I'll see people say, "If you don't wanna take HRT and you wanna go through menopause naturally, what are some things we can do?" Right? So we
mhm,
talked about the yam cream if you're trying to
mhm,
get progesterone through the yams.
right,
What are some other things people can do if they want to do it naturally?
mhm.
Number 1, but number 2, what if you can't take hormone replacement therapy? What if you have had breast cancer in the past and you've been advised by your healthcare professional that taking hormone replacement therapy, specifically estrogen, you can't do it. So then what recourse do you have?
So you really have to focus on lifestyle changes like strength training. When you build muscle, you can also influence your testosterone. Chia seeds can help boost testosterone. Eating clean, making sure you're pooping because if you don't poop, you will reabsorb estrogen that your body already makes. So definitely the Clean 15, the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15, making sure you're eating organic for the ones that are dirty. Things like strawberries, blueberries, make sure those are organic. Things that, don't have the skin that you peel, because you'll be getting the pesticides and stuff like that and the herbicides. So those things are very important in like I said, lifting weights, exercising, monitoring your insulin, because it does help with insulin sensitivity, but don't eat a whole lot of sugary foods because that naturally lowers your progesterone. Going to bed at night, trying to turn off the TV, stop looking at the cell phone, managing stress, yoga, like we talked about your friend who life seems great because she's doing yoga. So now, one thing that I did mention, just because you do all those things, it may not necessarily bring up your estrogen numbers. Because if my estrogen is 29, I can weight lift, I can poop every day, everything. It's not, you can eat foods so you
Mhm,
won't feel bad. And you
mhm.
can take those, they help with the hot flashes, those things with non-hormonal treatments. I can't never pronounce their names. They come up with
Oh,
some.
you talking about the pharmaceutical
Yeah,
medications?
the
Oh,
pharmaceutical
I
medication.
can't think of the names of them, but yeah, I've seen, commercials for them.
Yes, something, it
Oh,
helps regulate
Veoza. Veoza,
Venosa.
and, there's another one that I've seen, Gabrielle Union, she's on that commercial. It's another
Mhm,
one that came out, but Veoza
mhm,
is one, I think.
yeah. So that can help the surface level. It can help regulate your temperatures, help with the hot flashes and potentially the night sweats, but it does not replace your hormones.
So now for women who, cannot take hormone replacement, I guess they can take the pharmaceutical medication that will hopefully help them with hot flashes.
Mhm.
But what about libido? What about, um, you know, uh, their bone health, their joints? I
Yeah.
guess, you said exercising, doing yoga, that might help with
Mhm.
that, but the libido though, that's
Yeah.
a That's a big
Yeah.
issue for a lot of women, especially if you have a partner and things were great before you went through menopause and now you have no interest or it's painful. What can you do if you can't take hormone replacement therapy?
Well, you definitely have to stay hydrated. You gotta drink a whole lot of water. Now, it's the jury is still out, and I'm still like I'm a forever student. So you guys, something may come out tomorrow or the next day that I'm not aware of. But I know, like with a triple negative. I'm not saying that you can take hormones. Don't quote me on that. But I have a conversation with your doctors about the localized, like the vaginal estrogen, the one that's non systemic. Now
Oh,
the E ER2 estrogen receptor, that'd be a little tricky because your cells will grow because of estrogen, whether localized or systemic, I'm not sure. But you just kind of have to, it's on an individualized basis. So you really have to just pay attention to your body, drink plenty of fluids, water,
mhm,
minimize caffeine, exercise, manage stress, just the
mhm,
lifestyle things, just to have a more comfortable lifestyle. But you can't, and then you probably can look up on Google some foods that can naturally increase estrogen. And I might do that for you guys and provide like a handout. And
mhm,
then, because I know chia seeds help with the testosterone piece and
mhm.
things such as that. So those are the things that, because you do produce estrogen still, but the healthy estrogen, you want to make sure you're losing weight because
Mhm,
overweight people produce more estrone. You can
mm,
always do a Dutch test. We can look at your test to see what pathway your hormones go down and give you some more guidance. So, it's hard because you can't just, increase with a supplement. My estrogen is not going to go from 29 to 88 with the supplement.
yeah,
I need estrogen, just like your oil is low in the car. You can't just put antifreeze in there. You need oil, so
right,
the same thing, with the body, and it's so unfortunate. But now they have studies out now that, women are getting testosterone pellets in their breast who had breast cancer, and some have gone into remission. So it's some things out there that you guys can look into to help, with that, because estrogen is a hormone. It's a communicator, it's a chemical messenger.
mhm.
Those things are necessary for the body. It's more necessary than a lisinopril. Estrogen produce nitric oxide, so those are some things that I always say that we were created by God, not put together
Right,
by things. So that was part of his creation, vitamins, minerals, hormones, but those are the things that we fear the most. And those are the things that we skip over. Cause I used to have clients that had high blood pressure. You do give them a blood pressure medication and you say, okay, your vitamin D is low. I need you to get some vitamin D. Come back 3 months later, never pick up the vitamin D, but made sure they got that blood pressure medicine. I'm like, what? So your body makes vitamin D. It doesn't make amlodipine.
right,
But
right.
I think the world has made us think that natural things are not healing, and they are. They
Yeah,
are
they
so
do, yeah,
important.
yeah. My grandmother was into herbs and things like that, so she
Mhm.
knew which herbs help with different things, and I've retained some of that, but not nearly as much as she knew. But when it comes to, treating some of the other bothersome symptoms, let's say like depression or
Mhm.
anxiety, when I got on the pellets, my anxiety completely went away, thank God.
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
depression didn't completely go away, but it was probably 3/4 lower than what it had been, right? You talk about reducing stress. In the world that we live in, I don't know anybody who's not stressed. I know people who are more stressed than others, but I don't know anybody who's not stressed, right? So I guess if your lifestyle is such that you're experiencing some depression, maybe a low dose antidepressant may help, because for me, the HRT gave me such a better quality of life that I don't necessarily need an antidepressant, right?
Mhm.
But if you can't take HRT, then maybe a low dose antidepressant may help. But another thing, and I guess there's some research out there, and the FDA has not approved a lot of these things, but if you do your own research, you may find that there are some things out there that can help with some of your bothersome symptoms. One thing that has helped me, Again, the FDA has not approved the use of it for this, but there have been studies that have shown that they can help with certain things, is low dose naltrexone, LDN for short. Low dose naltrexone has helped me with joint pain. It has helped me with my central nervous system. It has helped calm me to where even though my anxiety was gone, my stress level is still high. I'm a single woman in the United States. I'm Black. I'm in this political world that we live in where it does not favor people who are like me, right? So, and I mean, I've got a full-time job, so much stuff that, and it's not just my current stress, it's the stress I've had for the past 30, 40 years that has now it's a culmination of all of it that's coming down on my body at once, right? So the low dose naltrexone has gotten me to a point where I'm not in fight or flight mode all the time. I'm not in survival mode all the time. I'm more even keel so that things that used to really set me off don't set me off anymore because I'm not at a point where, I'm on edge. You know, before I started with the low dose naltrexone, I just felt like I was on edge, and if one more person did one more thing, I was gonna snap, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm not there anymore, and it has
Mhm.
helped me with my central nervous system, so it's things like that that I think if we do our own research and it's available online, you know, you can there's a
Mhm.
physician somewhere on some website that will
Mhm.
prescribe it for you, and it's not expensive, but do your own research. Talk to your healthcare provider. Again, I'm not giving you any medical advice. I'm telling you what works for me. There are alternatives out there that may be able to help you with some of these bothersome symptoms, and that's just one thing that works for me.
Mhm.
If you can't, take the hormone replacement, even with sleep disruption, magnesium is something that if you take it before you go to sleep, it may help you sleep better.
Mhm.
Or if you, take a hot bath with some Epsom salt, that's magnesium. It might help you sleep
Mhm.
better, right? So it's
Yeah.
things like that, that if you can do those things, maybe those are some of the things that the hormone replacement might have helped you with, but if you choose not to do that or if you can't, then there's some other options for you.
Yeah, and
So
ashwagandha, L-theanine, Gabatrol, those things, Gabatrol I really liked. It's natural, 5-HTP, but you can't be on an antidepressant because sometimes antidepressants can also lower your natural hormone. So definitely research because testosterone helps with serotonin.
mm,
Estrogen helps with serotonin, with those neurotransmitters. So definitely do your own, research, like Angela said, to see or talk to a nurse practitioner or provider and one thing too, I want to empower a lot of women. We're in a partnership. I never come off as I am the provider. You are my patient. You are the one that know more about yourself than I ever will.
mm, mhm,
So if you go to someone that's like, I'm the provider or I'm the doctor, it's time for you to leave because, my mouth, this what I'm gonna say. Imma say, "Well, if you feel like it's synonymous with God, let me go get this 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread so you can turn it to feed 5,000 because I need a little groceries. Let me get some of this water so you can turn it to wine." That's my mouth, but I'm not encouraging y'all y'all to do that because, it's a partnership. Like I said, you know yourself better than anybody else, and if you work together as a team, healing is possible,
yeah,
and it's not always a pill for every ill. Like HRT has helped me and Angela tremendously. The pellet method has really helped both of us. But like I said, if that's not, your method or you don't want to do HRT for whatever reason, we respect those decisions. But definitely make some serious lifestyle changes so you won't feel like I'm getting older. This is supposed to happen. No, it's not.
yeah,
And like Angela said about her grandmother and the herbs, my grandmother, passed away in November. She was 103 years old. She, was never a person to always run to the doctor's office. When I was younger, when we used to have little colds and stuff, she'd be like, "Go get some of that cod liver oil and sit down somewhere," people used to do yellow root and all this kind of stuff. Put some salve on your knee and your joints. Now, what is salve? But whatever it is, it worked. So it was just different natural things. So, I enjoyed that time with her and seeing, that she flourished when I was younger. And I
yeah.
didn't see her in an emergency room or the doctor's office that often because she used a lot of natural supplements and things.
One last thing that I just thought about when it comes to estrogen, isn't there some studies and there's a connection between lack of estrogen and dementia, memory loss?
Yes. Yes.
Can we talk
So
about that?
yes. Okay. So both of my grandparents, both of my grandmothers passed away with Alzheimer's. Of course, them, the baby boomers, they were all around that WHI study. So every doctor known to man were taking people off of hormones. But I truly believe in my heart of hearts, if they had their hormones balanced or replaced, they would have never experienced that. Because, like I said, estrogen helps brain function. You got receptors in the brain and it helps the cells communicate. So when you start having dementia, you have low estrogen, your thoughts are buffering. It's like you can't remember things and stuff like that. Add stress on top of that. Add poor nutrition on top of that. Add lack of sleep on top of that, or whatever the case may be. And that's how people develop. People say it's the type 3 diabetes, add insulin resistance. And a lot
Mhm,
of people don't realize a lot of diseases are caused by insulin resistance, and fasting
mhm,
insulin levels are something that a lot of doctors don't check. They go
mhm,
by that hemoglobin A1C. And when we think of hormones, people just think of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Insulin is a hormone, you guys. That's a communicator. Something there right with your insulin. If you're resistant, if it's not opening the cell to push the sugar in for energy, there's a problem. Your thyroid, that's a hormone. So your communication system needs to be balanced. Your hormones need to be balanced. And a lot
mhm,
of these chronic diseases would not exist long term if we did look at the hormonal pattern of what's going on with the
mhm,
female. Not leaving your brothers out, because we're gonna talk about y'all one day too. But
mhm.
I'm just talking about, the females. The females are sometimes left behind, and we don't look at just reference ranges, we look at optimal ranges. Because, like Angela said, that statistical norm wasn't based on people that look like us. So I don't go by reference ranges, because a lot of times people say your labs are normal and it's outside or even too far to the low end of the reference range or too far to the higher end. And that could be a problem for you, because we
Yeah,
try to do things on an individual basis.
yeah. Whew, I've learned a lot. There's a lot of information. Matter of fact, I think I need to go back and watch this podcast again just because in talking with you, I heard it, but to absorb it, I want to go through it
Mhm.
again and hear it again.
Mhm.
So today we talked all about estrogen, and it's the hormone that quietly runs the show in the background of the female body. And in upcoming episodes, we'll talk about other major hormones. The next episode, we're going to talk about testosterone and how important it is in our bodies. And then the following episode, we'll talk about progesterone and how it affects sleep and mood. So, if this particular conversation helped you, if you learned anything, please tell your friends about it and encourage them to subscribe to this podcast. And you subscribe too if you haven't already. We want you to join us so that you can learn about what's going on in your body and be more educated when you go to see your physicians so you can ask the most important questions. And then I also want you to know that in our show notes, every episode, we have show notes. There's a lot of very helpful links in those show notes. Click on those links. You'll be surprised at the information that you'll find. One of the links will help you find a physician or a healthcare provider who has been trained in menopause. If you click that link, you can put your zip code in there and it'll tell you what doctors in your area have been trained in menopause. Another link, you can buy shirts like this that
Mhm.
celebrate menopause and kind of poke fun at it a little bit, or buy cups like this that kind of poke fun at it. Another link, you can find Latalia, and maybe if you're in the area and you want a physician who can partner or a healthcare professional who can partner with you with your health, you see she's very knowledgeable, so you can find information about her. But those links are very helpful. They can provide you with resources that will help you during your journey. And we want you to share this information with your friends that you know that need it. Please follow this podcast, and then also follow us on social media because we continue the conversation there too. And we also share articles that we find about menopause, any helpful information we find about menopause, we share on social media as well. So follow Menopause HQ on social media, follow the podcast. And Latalia, is there anything else you want women to know before we wrap up?
I just want you to know that you are very important. You're very important to us. You deserve to age with clarity, dignity, gracefully, and definitely with respect. So if you have concerns, questions, and you are not getting them answered, there's always somebody out there that can help you.
Awesome. That's very true. And don't be afraid to speak up for yourself, fire your healthcare professional if you don't feel like they're partnering with you, find somebody who will. And, you've got to advocate for yourself and take control of your own health. Unfortunately, we live in a society where that's becoming more and more needed, where you need to know about your own body. So until our next episode, I hope you all are doing well. I hope you take care of yourself, and I hope you learned something in this episode. So until the next episode, I hope you're well. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.